The Ron Paul contingent here on the internet, and they were very active, as you remember. Well, months ago, 6 months ago, Ron Paul, the furor over Ron Paul sort of reached its peak, where every day, this is the way I recall it, almost every day, the top videos on the political news and political were all Ron Paul stuff. And I call it wall-to-wall Ron Paul. Well, and then Ron Paul lost, which was almost inevitable. As I pointed out, that the Republican Party, even the maverick John McCain, supported the war. And so you could say that 95% of the Republicans, 95% of the congressional Republicans, maybe 95% of the regular voting Republicans, the people who voted in the primary, they support the war. So Ron Paul was trying to buck up against, he was trying to do the impossible, let's put it that way. And, he could have, the Democrats were far more receptive to the idea that many more Democrats voted against the authorization of force. And they were, well, whatever. So, but I see now that Obama has been elected with the Ron Paul. There's now the Ron Paul people have regrouped. And now what they're going to do is they're going to spend the next 4 years saying how awful Barack Obama is. Now, let me point out to the Ron Paul people that may stumble across this video, I never thought that Obama was going to be the Messiah, or was going to make everything all better. No, I just thought he was a decent candidate, one of the best in the field, that was electable, and that actually took the correct position on the Iraq War. So, no, I'm not thinking he's perfect, no. And I will be upset if he doesn't follow through on his commitment to withdraw troops. But I'm sensing, yes, that the Ron Paul people are going to bitch and gripe, and they are throwing stuff already over a dig. Now, so that prompted me to look into their Messiah. See, they don't like the Messiah for other people. See, now there are a lot of more Obama people that are much more, how do you say it? They're into Obama like you wouldn't believe. But your Messiah is Ron Paul. Your master is Ron Paul. So you've substituted George Bush. And everyone bowed and kissed to George Bush. Most of the Republicans did. And now you've substituted it for Ron Paul. Well, okay. So I'm still, I don't know. And so I looked into a little bit more Ron Paul, because he's kind of he's a cagey little guy. I mean, he's cagey, He's got some kind of ideas that catch on every now and then. Well, but I looked at his voting. I re-looked at what he actually sponsored, what he actually pushed for in his congressional record. And you know what I find? This is interesting. Ron Paul is scared of the two biggest issues in the budget, in the federal government. What are they, folks? Social Security and the Defense Department. Those are the two biggest parts of the budget. And Ron Paul is a socialist. He's a redistributionist, because he is not going to touch Social Security. Social Security is the biggest item in the budget. Why is that? Because a lot of Ron Paul's older voters are getting Social Security. Actually, he protected Social Security. He put in a bill that would segregate the funds and put them into a trust, and they would get a certain amount of return. So this small government baloney, and I see nothing in Ron Paul's record, nothing about discontinuing a certain defense budget, or discontinuing a certain weapon system program, or reducing the size of the military force. None of that. So, what am I? I guess I'm sort of. Oh, and Oh, and then let me make one final point here. Ron Paul really came out against the Iraq War. And I was surprised at this. That's very good, Ron. Really good, Ron. You gave the list of questions of 14 questions or 20 questions or 25 questions that was very popular in Europe and which more Americans should have been thinking about. But of why we shouldn't go to war and why in Iraq I'm talking about in Iraq, not Afghanistan. But then, and those questions would have been a great basis for what? Impeachment. Impeachment, Ron. You had 6 years, Ron. You and Kucinich could have gotten together and hammered away at impeachment. But no, Ron, you wimped. Yeah, you wimped. So you're wimping out on Social Security, you're wimping out on defense spending, and you're farting away, oh, I'm sorry to use the word, farting away a lot of it bills on the gold standard. I know you love that issue, the gold standard and the gold tender, and oh yeah, you want to go back to the 1800s, Ron, and when everything was nice. Yeah, and people were poor, whatever. But, yeah, I sense a phoniness. I sense a lack of commitment. Maybe a lack of courage, too. So, yeah, where were you, Ron? Impeachment. Now, you were gung-ho on impeaching Bill Clinton for blowjobs. And by the way, I always say blowjobs are legal in the United States. They are legal. You can do them. It's not against the law to have a blowjob. And then lying about a blowjob, well, that's maybe a moral thing, but even lying about it, yeah, okay, well, we don't want to go into lying about blowjobs and whether it's perjury or germane or not, but yes, you were very quick to go after Clinton, but George Bush, you had all kinds of evidence to impeach George Bush, and you wimped, Ron, you wimped. So, oh well. So I guess